back with pick six.
Well, you know what? I did pick out Ryan Fitzmagic. So how you feel about it?
Hey,
Hey, he
I'm
around
I'm
18
not
years.
surprised how long you've been in the league and so many teams. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah. I picked him off, but I picked off a younger version of Ryan. This older version of Ryan actually is pretty damn good, and he can flat out play. Don't forget the guy got benched in Miami for winning too much. So that tells you a lot about him and where he's at. And he's in the top. Hey, believe it or not, he's in the top 5, top 6 in QBR and completions in the last 3 years of his career. He's got better. It's like wine. He's getting better. But I got something that I feel. As much as I know Ryan is gonna help us win and he's gonna be that guy, sometimes in football, it's all about the story. I feel a Kurt Warner type story happening with Tyler Heineke. I just feel if Ryan Fitzmagic miss just 1 or 2 games, he'll never get his job back again. I feel that Tyler Heineke would get in there and really become Kurt Warner of the Washington football team. Yes, the guy that comes out of nowhere that was bagging groceries that turns into a Hall of Famer. I gotta feel it.
How does that OG title make you feel to know that you had made an imprint into this fan base and things like that?
Oh, that's what it make you feel. Oh, you used to look at the guys like B. Mitch and Doc Walker, you Sonny Jurgensen's, and you be like, man, they played and they was a part of historic teams, and all of a sudden, we didn't have any history. I think we brought a different energy to the city, and just having the luxury of playing with Sean T and playing with Santana, myself, Marcus, Chris Samuel. I think the guys, Smoot, those guys that was in that community meant so much. Even the unsung heroes, the Mike Sellers, the Rock Cartwrights, the Kerry Campbells, the list goes on. The people that was just embedded in the community and that meant well or did well. And then you have those guys that didn't do shit there.
Oh my!
The community can't stand. So
man,
everybody came in. The guys that doing my
I know what time it is, bruh. Y'all know what time it is. Hold on, let me go ahead and pause this thing right quick. Change the screen up for you. Boom. Oh, remove that too. I'm tripping. My bad. There we go. Woo! All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the Trap or Dive Instant Recap, provided to you by 214 Media. I am your host, Jamal Forrest. I got my good man. Those of you all who don't know, Trap or Dive family. He always been around. He's been around the whole season. I just don't know it. But the good man Montel is checking in with this. Before I go through the numbers right quick, Montel, man, I appreciate you chopping it up for these few little minutes as we talk about what the fuck just happened at FedEx Field, bro. How you feeling today, dog? I know you said you left the bar early, bro, because you was a little annoyed.
Yeah, man, and just know I put on the shirt today. I put on the shirt and the hat.
Let the
today,
people know. Let the people know the background behind that.
Man, I put on this shirt and it's so funny because, man, you text me right before the game, and you kind of blew my vibe because and this is a gambler's perspective. You kind of have an idea of what may potentially go on. And I view it as, kind of like the stock market. You hit me before the game saying, "Hey, look, dog, that line moved," and I'm not feeling what I'm seeing right now. We may get blown out today. And I was in the process of putting on my shirt, so I said, "So you mean to tell me I don't need to put my shirt?" So you mean to tell me?
Said, hold on, bro.
You mean to tell me I don't need to put my shirt on today? And I still did it anyway. And sure enough, I regretted it because in the first quarter at the bar, I ran into a couple Cowboys fans, and they're screaming, "Go home." And you know what? There's nothing more embarrassing than having on your whole outfit after winning after winning 4 games in a row, and then seeing Cowboys fans screaming, "Go home." It's over in the first quarter, not in the first half.
First quarter.
In the first quarter, man. So
First
I'm
quarter.
here today. I'm here to analyze, you know what I'm saying, what went down. But man, I'll tell you what, that was kind of embarrassing as a fan, man. Just straight up. I'm just gonna be honest.
Yeah, man. Let's go ahead and get through these numbers right quick for the background for the people. Obviously, Washington loses 27-20 wildly. They scored 12 points in like 2 minutes. Washington does. But they lose 27-20. The numbers as follow. Taylor Heineke finishes the day 11 of 25, 122 yards, one touchdown, one interception, sacked 4 times for 46 yards. Kyle Allen comes in after a Taylor Heineke injury, in which he truthfully should have been benched before the injury. But Kyle Allen comes in 4 of 9, 53 yards. His one sack that he surrendered, or the offensive line surrendered, ended up being costly, as that sack turned into a sack fumble for the Dallas Cowboys. The leading rusher for Washington, Antonio Gibson, 10 carries, 36 yards on the day, but bench for a fumble. And then the leading receiver, Cam Sims, my boy, three receptions, 69 yards, one touchdown. The spark that initially helped Washington seemed like they had a fight. And then on the Dallas side of the ball, you have Dak Prescott going 22 of 39, 211 yards, one touchdown, two interceptions. He was sacked 4 times for 10 yards. Leading carrier for the Dallas Cowboys is Zeke Elliott, 12 carries, 45 yards, but right behind him, Corey Clement, 13 for 44. Leading receiver on the day is CeeDee Lamb, 7 receptions, 61 yards, but Michael Gallup was right behind him with 5 receptions for 60 yards. And then the defensive side of the ball, the leading tackler is Cole Holcomb and Cam Curl for Washington. Obviously, Cole had that huge pick six that helped Washington have a chance at the end. And then I think this is Jordan Lewis, I believe, with 6 total tackles for the Dallas Cowboys, and Micah Parsons, 3 total tackles, 2 sacks. One last thing before we carry on to your overall thoughts about this game, Montel. Total first downs. I mean, Washington's defense seemingly, look, the difference is clearly the fumble return for a touchdown that ultimately decides the game, as Washington loses by 7 points. Taylor Heineke ends up getting sacked and fumbled. That one returns for a touchdown. And seemingly you're looking at a 2020 game if things were to play out the exact same way it played out, minus the fumble. 19 total first downs for Dallas, 14 for Washington. 323 total yards for Dallas, 224 for Washington. Washington only averaged 3.6 yards per play on the day. Dallas 4.1. And then you have the big deal. Outside of rushing, 122 yards rushing for Dallas, 100 yards for Washington. You have 2 turnovers for Dallas and then 4 for Washington. All of them end up being costly, as the 3 prior to the fumble at the end of the game turned into points to some degree for the Dallas Cowboys. Oh, all right, here we go. Your overall thoughts of the game, man. You can take this anywhere that you want to take this, Montel. You can talk about any aspect, any angle that you want to. Your thoughts on the game and what bothered or stood out to you as you watched this loss unfold.
Well, for me, one of the first things I have to point out is the fan base. One of the things that I think is so cute is how a lot of fans. I think it's so cute how
I hate the fact that I know your sense of humor, but I know you're serious too. So I gotta remind myself to hold in the laughs while we're talking.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
I think it's so cute how so many fans try to remain composed when there's an avalanche coming. Oh, wow. I see so many people reverting back to before the bye week when we're getting our ass kicked in the first quarter. Of course, people are going to be frustrated. Like, I love the fans that try to act as if everything is okay when we're getting our asses handed to us on a silver platter. Bruh, we came out so flat today. That is not acceptable as an NFL football team. And I'm not trying to call out any fans in particular, but please do not condemn the fans that are critical of the team when they are not performing to the expectations that they should be performing. We did not come out today to play football. I know what the final score was, but this was a blowout. Don't get it mistaken. I don't care what anybody tries to say. This was a blowout. We came out off rips 18-0. We were not prepared. Don't
First
get
quarter
it
at that.
confused. Yeah, do not get it confused. This was a route. And Dallas came out and they flew. This is so funny. They flew benches to our stadium with their logos on it. The coach guaranteed a victory before the game. And for your team to come out and get down 18-0, it's almost like somebody saying, hey, look, we about to come to your house. We're going to smack you in the mouth. And guess what? You're not going to do anything about it. And guess what? We didn't do anything about it.
Didn't do
Like,
anything.
that is what bothers me the most. It's not, to me, I don't even care about the final result. You know what I'm saying? Bro, we came out so flat today as if we were not prepared. That is what frustrates me as a fan. Now, guess what? Of course, we still are in the hunt to make the playoffs. All right, cool. But out of all of the games, today was the day that most fans brought in. Most fans came up today and said, you know what? We back in it. You know what? Let's make some noise. You know what? Coach called us to come to the stadium. Let's do what we have to do. And for all the fans in DC to come back and rally around the troops, and we pull that out our ass, that's unacceptable. No.
And
And what another thing that I'm very frustrated is about, and I mentioned this to you in the chat before I even left the bar, is Taylor Heineke. He kind of looked flustered last week. He kind of looked like a backup last week. And today he came back out and he looked very much like a backup, and it's very concerning.
oh, worse than the backup.
Yeah, exactly.
He looked like he should be a free agent.
And for all the criticism that he received before the bye week, man, I'm tired of people who try to act like they are fortune tellers, man. All the criticism that he was received before the bye week was warranted. All the praise that he received subsequent to the bye week was warranted. Now, all the criticism that he's receiving again is warranted. Man, as a fan, as a football fan, everything is subject to change. We are able to react to things that we are seeing currently playing in front of us. Dog, he looked like a backup today. And before today, we were able to say, hey, look, man, we might got our quarterback. But you know what, man? After the day, after last week, I don't know again. And I during the game, I said, I don't want this to be like a Kirk Cousins situation, whereas though we have a guy who's inconsistent. And granted, Kirk was inconsistent, but we knew he could potentially be like the guy that he is today. But Heineke, we don't know. If we pay him, and I don't even want to go into that conversation right now, but it's like if you pay Heineke $100 million, what are you looking at for this team? Like, so it's just the uncertainties. It's just the uncertainties of this team just for this season. You know what I mean? That bothers me. So after today, I'm back at, I don't know. We're 6-7. We can make it to the playoffs, of course, but we don't know.
So two things to talk about, and what's going on? I appreciate you checking in. I mentioned that our O line is trash as hell. Parsons gave our All-Pro guard a ride all the way to Taylor Heineke for a strip sack. Now, for those who are listening, appreciate y'all tuning in and things like that. I did mention in my key matchups that I wrote for Hogs Haven, I had mentioned that one of the matchups was this offensive line having to step up, specifically Lucas in the right side having to step up against DeMarcus Lawrence, who would be coming back. And unfortunately for Lucas, it wasn't just him that got his ass whooped. The entire offensive line did. They couldn't protect Taylor Heineke, but more importantly, and this is where I was going to go to next, Montel. You brought it like 2 points, so we're going to go ahead and mesh them together. Typically, I do a name that storyline for Washington after each and every game. Name the storyline that'll be heading into this upcoming week as they prepare for the next game. And this one for me was that every time that Ron Rivera and company tells the team how much the team needs the fans, these boys throw up all over themselves. He's done it twice this year. It's time for Ron Rivera to shut the hell up and focus on the team. Now, I'm not going to get too critical in the sense that I'm angry at Ron Rivera. And for those who are listening, I want y'all to understand. Montel isn't lying. I told him prior to the game, and I didn't want to tweet it and put that bad juju out there for everybody. I told only Montel because I know he can handle it. But I had a feeling that Washington was going to get their ass whooped. And there was just a lot of things going against them. And I just didn't think that this offense in particular was going to be able to keep up with this team. And what's wild is that 11-0 is a manageable deficit, Montel, to come back from. That's perfectly fine. You can come back from that. But the issue is when you go into halftime with your starting quarterback 2 of 12 for 19 yards, 1 interception, 1 fumble, and 20 total offensive yards. It's not the fact that you were down 24-0 at halftime. It's also the fact that you were down 24-0. Or excuse me, it's the fact that your defense allowed 11 points to be exact. But then your offense scored 0. So you had no shot of really getting back into this game as it stood at that point because you were not able to sustain anything offensively. Taylor Heinicke was bad to the point where when he got injured for Washington, he shouldn't even came back out as the starter at halftime. That's how bad it was for Taylor. Like you don't entertain anything like that. And I understand Rivera was going to be the one to give him that opportunity to come out of the half. But if you know what you're saying, I always tell people this entire season, trust your eyes. And Heinicke was unfortunately, he was terrible. And there was no coming back from it today. Like, you can obviously put him back in the next game, but Brady, take a break. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Gather your bearings because this is 2 weeks in a row where we saw signs of you reverting back to pre-bye week Taylor Heinicke, throwing into triple coverage, looking off your checkdowns, looking off the people in front of you because you said, I want to take this shot and try to get us back into the game with an explosive play. But at the end of the day, if you just move the ball, and Kyle Allen showed you on his very first drive, if you implement opportunities for your checkdowns and also just having that run game with a faster pace offense, you have an opportunity to move the ball. So it's rough, man. That's my storyline. Ron Rivera and his comments, wanting to bring the fans back. I think you just need to focus on your team. Don't worry about what the fans are doing because Mike McCarthy came in, he spoke to the media, and he spoke his truth, saying that he was going to guarantee a dub. Not only did they come in and bring a dub to back home to Dallas, but they came in, they whooped you, and then they said, I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn who your quarterback is. I don't give a damn what your defense look like. I don't give a damn who your head coach is. We don't respect you. We're gonna go out.
They were disrespectful. They were very.
We're gonna go out and yes, it was very disrespectful. So Wilson, what's going on, boss man? He checked in. He said that his storyline was is Heinicke healthy to play next week? Who's going to play center? What's the future Antonio Gibson? And how long will the defensive ends be in healthy protocol? And I'm assuming he means COVID protocol. Mm-hmm. Montel, first and foremost, I don't have anything really negative to say about the defense. I mean, there was times where they gave up things, but truth be told, when you're giving up 20 points against one of the teams, one of the league's best offenses, I think you did your job. You only gave up 20 points. This offense is going to be an issue moving forward. We know that. Again, signs from last week and then signs from this week. Obviously, they're not going to bench Taylor Heinicke just yet off of that one game. They're going to give him another opportunity, and that may becoming problematic because now you're going up against the Philadelphia Eagles offense and defense. Excuse me, should have been more specific, but a defense who is sneaky good. I'm not going to sit here and say they're really good. I would say, let me take a look right now. They are 11th defensively in terms of yards. So like they have their moments of playing good, but they play really good against terrible offenses. Yeah. So this is their moment to really step up and try and get back right against another offense who's struggling. This has become a problem, and I'll explain it and hand it over to you. Washington is 6-7. That if you lost to Dallas, that's perfectly fine, right? In the grand scheme of things, you can still make the playoffs. But the way you lose, the injuries that you sustained again moving forward, you lost Tyler Larsen. Who knows to what, but he is the backup already to the starter. So you lost Tyler Larsen. Antonio Gibson continues to fumble the ball. He fumbled the ball in a crucial situation against Dallas. For those who aren't aware, obviously with them getting the ball back down 24-8 immediately after them scoring a touchdown, Antonio Gibson gives it up, puts Washington in a terrible situation. Again, bench for the rest of the game. You can't put him back out there. The offense and Terry McLaurin. How do I even Taylor Heineke? Shout out to him for setting Taylor Heineke up in this situation.
Absolutely.
Yes, for setting Taylor Heineke up in the situation. When we talk about going downfield to just completely disregard Curtis Samuel or John Bates at the first down marker, it ends up getting Terry McLaurin hurt, who potentially may be out against Philly. And this is where I was going to. You're in more trouble than you think now. And this ain't a 6-7. Oh, we can bounce back as long as we sweep Philly and get the Giants win. Now you're hoping, you're praying to God that you can find a way to get 3 wins. You're praying to God. I don't know. I mean, we always say that after a loss, I don't know how they're going to get it. But now it's become 10 times more difficult because you don't know who you're going to get when you go up against Philly. And then a strong run team like Philly, who's, I believe, on their bye week right now. What are you seeing from this Washington team that gives the outlook? What's the scenarios for them making the playoffs? How do you see this going for Washington, Montel?
Man. Again, this is where I come back to trying not to be overreactive, but again, just reacting to the moment. And it's kind of what you just stated. And you mentioned something that many people couldn't even see was Curtis Samuel just standing by himself at the first down marker on a play in which Terry McLaurin got hurt. It kind of brings me back to the 2018 season where we were running the ball well, we were playing defense. And of course, the two teams are very much different. But we were running the ball well. We were playing defense in 2018. But you ask yourself, is this sustainable without a passing game that can be dynamic? Now, during this 4-game win streak, we've been able to run the ball and play defense. But the passing game hasn't been dynamic. It's been complementary. You can't just have a complementary passing game. It has to be dynamic when it has to be dynamic. And again, I'm not overreacting. I'm like you, as you just said, I'm saying what I am seeing on the TV screen each and every Sunday. We watch this team each and every Sunday. The schedule has already given us a disadvantage on its own, which is also part of the reason. And I'm not making an excuse. You went out today, you got smacked in the mouth, but the schedule in itself, it isn't doing us any favors because we're getting teams coming off 10-day breaks, bye weeks, 14-day breaks. It's like, okay, you got to be able to be dynamic offensively, and I don't think that we are. As well as we were able to run the ball, now you got your division opponents who know you better than anybody, and they're going to say, hey, you know what? Washington can run the ball. Guess what? We about to stop them from running the ball. So, you're going to have to come beat us today. Can Taylor Heineke step up and beat teams? Because I know there's a portion of the fan base that loves Taylor Heineke, and I fell in love with him for a quick second. And I got to be honest, and you were there. You know what I mean? When the run game is working, when the defense is playing, when everything is going well, Taylor Heineke can look like a Ryan Tannehill. Taylor Heineke can look like a Kirk Cousins. Taylor Heineke can look like a Jimmy Garoppolo. But what can he look like when all is going bad? And that is what determines what good quarterbacks can do. That is what determines what playoff teams can look like. A lot of times is, can we win despite the defense being bad, despite teams knowing running the ball? I don't believe that, because at 18-0, I knew this game was over. You know what I mean? It was like, we're not that type team that can overcome this type of deficit. But 18-0, playoff teams aren't done. And that is where I question the ability of this team and not so much the heart because they've shown us. Look, we can be
Yeah, they
we
got
can
the
be
art.
we can be 2-6 and get back to 6-6. But are you talented enough to overcome uh 18-0 deficit? Are you talented enough to fall down in the first quarter? Because each and every time that we've done that this year, it's been a wrap for the most part. We're not coming like we're done when we fall down. You've seen it with the Bills; they smoked us after we fell down 10 zap. The pack, and that's the thing. You got a quarterback again who he's likable. You know what I mean? He's fun to watch at times, but it's just is he talented enough? Because he's very limited. Is he talented enough to overcome everything going wrong around him? And it seems as if a lot of
We know the
times,
answer, bro.
yeah,
We know
it
the answer.
seems as if a lot of times when things are going bad around him, he kind of adds to it. He doesn't really make you say, "Oh wow, we got this." Sometimes when you're down 14-0, things are going bad. He kind of just makes you say, "Damn, it's about to get
So
worse."
So Merle checked in through YouTube, man. Appreciate you checking in, bro. I hope all is well with you. Um, he mentioned a few things. You know, he felt like they should have started Kyle Allen week 1, but also that Heineke. He stated because Heineke's in the answer. I think this is the ebbs and flows that you get with Taylor Heineke, and you spoke on
Yeah.
it earlier, Montel. Is that um, the most important thing that we all have to remember is that this has always been a week by week basis evaluation of Taylor, and when people think that 1 week you're high on Taylor and the next week you're low, it's because it's true.
Yes.
It's supposed to feel that way when you're trying to evaluate if this guy is the answer. And for 3 weeks in a row, for me, and this is kind of what you're pointing to, Montel, for 3 weeks in a row, and I showed it on film too. Like I was very
Mm-hmm.
impressed with Taylor. I was impressed with Taylor, but last week was like, oh shit, it's back. That's literally what I said. I paused. I was like, hold on, bro. This ain't good. This ain't good. And it trickled over against the Cowboys, man. And I think one thing that is important to say too, because we are talking about one side of this game is fuck, man. This is the part of being an analyst, bro, that we got to speak on. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
shout out to Dallas. Dallas front seven dominated, man, from start to finish. They didn't really have any lapses. They put pressure on Taylor Heineke and Kyle Allen all game. And solid coverage on the back end. Terry McLaurin, I actually think he finished the game with 0 catches.
Hmm.
I think it was 0 catches, if not one. You know, obviously the one deep ball pass attempt that eventually knocked him
I
out
was
of the
about to
game.
say that was an underthrow, but okay.
Yeah, yeah. That one that eventually knocked him out of the game. And we can talk about 1,000 things that wasn't in favor of Washington. Like the officiating was shaky.
Yeah.
I felt like they tried to balance some things. A couple of the personal foul calls that was on Dallas, they tried to balance it by saying there was fouls on both sides, both teams, and you know it is what it is, right? And there's no excuses like Montel says, but
Mm-hmm.
I just think that this is just space for Washington where you went up against a team that was better than you. For a fan base standpoint and a coaching standpoint, you tried to ride the momentum, and you thought that momentum was going to be able to help you out today. And I don't disagree and don't fight anybody who thought that because look, I took Washington prior to today. Like I had Washington covering the spread. I don't know if they was going to win, but I thought they was going to be able to keep it close. But the point being is Dallas was supposed to win. They were supposed to win because they were the more talented team. But how was Washington going to respond? And unfortunately, when they got punched in the mouth, it was like the ref was 2 seconds away from waving his hand because the guy was about to get knocked out. Like he was seeing Jesus. That's what Washington was. They was that guy on the ground, and they was trying to fight back and basically saved by the bell. Like by God's grace, they found a way to make it seem respectable.
Yeah.
And turned it into a 27-20 game late. For me, you spoke on your outlook for the playoffs. And again, when we talk about a week by week thing, the truth of the matter is Washington. I mean, they're in trouble, and I don't think they were in trouble in the sense that prior to this week that they were going to just flat out lose to Philly. I thought they would have had a shot at beating Dallas prior to the defensive ends again hurting, and just not expecting Taylor and the offense to produce the way they did. But now this week, you have to recover from 2 bad weeks of offense, and then you have to recover and hope that you get some key players back in Montez Sweat and some of your backup defensive ends. And yeah, so Merle said that this wasn't Washington's full team out there. And J.D. McKissick was gone too. Like, these guys have to be out there. And it's interesting to see how they respond. It's just hard to say that they will turn things around like at a snap of a finger because these guys were missing. I think it always goes a little bit deeper than that. And I think the reason why the offense was functioning well is because Taylor Heineke was seeing the field well in at least 3 of the 4 games during their winning streak. So that's kind of where I get into the problems. When you have Dallas and Philly in your next 2 games, Philly and Dallas to be specific, back to back, it's just hard. It's going to be hard, man. Before we get out of here, I appreciate Montel for checking in for a little bit, man, and giving his thoughts on the team. I will say this, and this is my final thoughts. I will say this. This team, regardless of the outcome of the season, has done an incredible job fighting their way back into the playoff race.
For sure.
In that respect, or in that regard, I give them their respect.
Mm-hmm.
The deeper conversation that we can always save for a later time and have a more in-depth conversation would be, why did it take them so long? And now that you find yourself in a hole, look where it got you. But I give them their respect and fighting their way back. I am not upset at these guys losing today. I'm not upset.
We would do for a loss, essentially.
Yes.
We would do.
Yes, due for a loss. I'm not upset. But how do you respond to this, and how do you find a way to recover from so many injuries that are continuing to pile up with this team? Merle believes that Kyle needs to start. Look, it's hard for me to sit here and get off Taylor after we always knew it was going to be an evaluation to this degree. I will say that this is Taylor's worst game. I'm going to hand it over to you after this last thought. This was Taylor's worst game of his career in Washington, and probably his worst game as a pro, like ever. I've never seen Taylor look this bad, and he's had bad games here in Washington. I think this one took the cake by miles. But again, I'm proud or impressed by the comeback that they've put and made itself a season. It may end up being derailed because of injuries and a relapse by Taylor Heineke. Your final thoughts, Montel, for this episode before we get up out of here and get back to our Sunday.
I got a question for you before we even hop off. And I keep seeing Merle. He's going hard. Do you think it is an overreaction for a fan to say, put Kyle out on there?
No. And the reason why I say that, and I'll be quick with mine, the reason why I say that is because this wasn't the first time that people thought that. Like, They weren't saying this. They weren't just now saying this. And Merle, if he was saying that he should have been the starter week 1, I respect Merle. And because I haven't been around Merle since week 1, so I respect what he's saying, and I trust that he's been saying that since week 1. But he's not the only one who's been saying that. They've been saying that before the bye week. They've been saying that throughout the 4-game losing streak. That people they even talked about it during the bye week. Ron Rivera and Michael Silver, who is a part-time reporter for Washington. They even talked about Kyle Allen coming in at some point if things were not changing with Taylor Heineke. So I wouldn't even be mad if they made that switch because it's been talked about. I just think that right now, I don't think Ron Rivera is that guy that gives up on people quick, especially after the 4 games that they won. I think that he'll give him another game before he says, okay, we need to go ahead and make this switch. What about you? What do you think?
No, I asked that because, one, I don't think it's an overreaction. And I put this in the chat today that my dad, he's been saying, even on the 4-game winning streak.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Hey, yeah, man, we probably need to put number 8 in. And I think, like I said, there's an infatuation with Taylor Heineke, and there is no right or wrong at the moment with me. I'm not 100% sold And I mentioned to you at the bar the other day, you can win with him. I believe that. I firmly believe you can win with him. But when he reverts back to this Taylor Heineke, the questions, the skepticism, it's valid because he again he has the potential to be a game changer, a spark plug, kind of like Nick Foles. But then you also know what you get with Nick Foles. You get a guy who the offense isn't moving and everything has to be right. It's just so weird. It's weird with Heineke. And it's like honestly, it, not to say that Kyle Allen is better, but you know he isn't as limited. So that I think that is why people want to see Kyle Allen. It's like, okay, cool. Maybe if the same things here, I think this is the better question. Everything was going right with Taylor Heineke, and Heineke was able to produce. Don't you think that with everything going right, Kyle Allen could have did the same thing? You know what I mean? Kyle Allen could do what Taylor Heineke was doing with everything going the right way. You know what I mean? So I don't think that I really don't believe that it's far fetched to say, hey man, I think I want to see some Kyle Allen in there. You know what I mean? But
That's
I don't know.
it's gonna be hard, man, because Ham put up a good point in the chat. He mentioned that's not I forget how stagnant the offense was when Kyle was starting. Now Kyle I think only played 2 games last year before he ended up getting hurt, 2 or 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I was
I will
gonna
say
say
this.
they weren't really stagnant with Kyle.
I was literally about to say that. I don't know how stagnant they were. I just knew that much hadn't changed. Like it was a big difference between obviously Dwayne and
Yeah,
Kyle and Dwayne
yeah.
and Alex. But was the offense as effective? Because Kyle Allen, I think in the Giants game that he got hurt, had like 3 turnovers.
This
Unless that was Alex
offense has
Smith.
not
Correct me
been
if I'm wrong. But
dynamic.
there was turnovers galore with Kyle Allen still starting.
This offense has not been dynamic since Kirk Cousins. It hasn't been dynamic at all, at least from a passing game perspective. And not to say that Kurt is the best quarterback to ever do it or anything like that, because I'm
It's
still
just the
not a
most
fan
recent
of,
successful quarterback in Washington. I get it.
exactly. I'm still not a fan of Kirk Cousins, but at the end of the day, man, again, your run game has to work, especially this time of year. But you have to be able to pass the ball when you need to pass the ball. You have to be able to say, we can't run, we're down 14 or whatever. We gotta abandon the run because it's not working. You need to be able to throw the rock. Period. End of the day.
End of the day. Montel, what you on today, bro? You about to just finish watching these games, though?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch some more ball. I gotta go get the little man from Duke's house. I got a little tipsy today, and I'm not even gonna lie to you. Towards the end of the game, man, I said, "Hey, look, I'm going to sleep. I'm gonna give me a nap because I know when little man come back, it's all
He gonna be
him."
active.
Yeah, so I got me a little nap, man. I was disappointed, man. I was kind of disappointed, but at the end of you already know how that go.
Yeah,
We gonna live life. We gonna live life regardless, baby. But
already, bro. I'm
it's
looking
just a
forward to
look.
next
It's just
weekend and shit. You
yeah.
know?
It's just a tad bit better when our team
When
is winning.
Washington is
But
winning.
yeah, you know what I
Absolutely.
mean. But
You know
hey,
the vibes, dog. We good. We straight regardless. We straight. All
straight up.
right, man. Already. Hey, so listen, schedule wise, y'all. We are back Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of this week. I'm back with AJ and Dre should be back on Tuesday. All 32 obviously Wednesday, and then the game preview for the Philly game Thursday this week. Appreciate you again, Montel, for
sure.
coming in and chopping it up. Getting some things off your chest with the Washington football team. Appreciate everybody in the chat today. It was a short episode, man. We weren't about to wrap a little bit too long. And Merle is right before we get out of here.
Okay,
The Sam
Merle.
Cosmi injury
I
is
see
killing
you, Merle.
Washington. Sam Cosmi, Cornelius Lucan is getting his ass whooped over there, and it ain't nothing we could do about it. It ain't nothing we could do. So yeah,
turn up
we out
next
of
week,
here.
man. I don't want no excuses, bro.
Hey, come on,
Turn
man.
up,
Hey,
bro.
these the bottles in my hand. That's what this is right here.
I don't want no
These
excuses,
the bottles in
bro.
my hand. You know what I'm saying?
Come ready.
Already, bro.
Hey, I'm just letting y'all know right now, all his fans, he may not make it to the show next week. That's how I'm gonna get him. We getting
Oh
right.
fuck! It is Saturday, huh?
Yeah,
God
we getting
damn.
right. He may not make it to the show next week. We might not even be able to watch the
Damn,
game when I'm
dog.
done with him. You hit me?
Oh fuck! All right, man. Look, we out of here. Y'all know the vibes, bro.
All
Y'all
right,
be
bro.
safe. Enjoy y'all Saturday. And I catch y'all boys, ladies and gentlemen, later. Peace.
Yes, sir.